Hello. All right. We are live with my first in person interview on the Adventures in Adversity podcast. I am here with my friend Omaira,
Hello.
and I am honored that she's going to share some life stories and just experiences that she's been through, because that's what this podcast is all about. We all have a story, and we all have been through adversity in various ways, and she has been a supporter of the podcast.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
I asked her if she would be a guest, and she actually was wanting to be a guest. So I'm excited. So thank you for wanting to be a
Of
guest.
course. Thanks for having me, Bree.
Oh, you're welcome. And we are in Blackhawk Plaza in Danville, California. Here
Yes.
we are overtaking public spaces, and this is what you do when you're a new podcast host. You just fake it till you make it.
We're enjoying all the things right now.
We look for outlets and Wi-Fi. So anyway, all right. So I'm going to get started now. We're going to put Omaira in the hot seat.
Okay. Ready.
So when you think about like this podcast and like the word adversity,
Yeah.
like what things in your life kind of come up for you? Like when you were like, yes, I want to be on this podcast. What stories come to mind for you? Like, are there specific times in your life that immediately pop up?
Yeah, of course. So I would say like I started to face adversity after my dad passed away. So before then, like I literally lived a perfect life. Well, in my eyes, it was perfect. I was like living on a cloud. I was spoiled and had so much love and attention. Then after when my dad passed away when I was 16, like everything changed. We had to move out of our house really quickly. So that was a big change for me. And just not having that like father figure, best friend. It was really hard because everything I was doing after that was like the first time again. Like the first time going to the mall without my dad, the first time, going to get a haircut without my dad. And it may seem like silly, but if you are truly a daddy's girl and your dad or your mom is your best friend and you go through losing them, like it's a tragedy. It's really hard. And I did not deal with it for a very fucking long time.
So you were 16.
I was
And
16.
I'm so sorry for your loss. You know, it's just something that at a very young age, I can imagine is, it's hard to even process, right?
It's hard. And like he died in front of my eyes. So that was an extra layer.
Cancer?
No,
No?
he didn't. He actually went in for a blood clot and then it traveled to his heart and then multi-organ failure.
Suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were 16 and you, that's quite a young age to be hit with that,
Yeah.
and you have a big supportive family.
They're amazing,
Yes.
Brie. Like I cannot live my life without them.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate them for a very long time, but now that I'm older, like I I feel like a winner in life because I have them. Like despite anything that happens, like
Yeah.
I'm winning because I have my mom, I have my sisters, I have my nieces, I have my nephew, and that's my
Yeah.
brother-in-laws. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they help me overcome the adversity that I've gone through because they're just in my life.
Yeah. So you're never going through that alone.
Exactly. And it's so comforting to know that. And
Yeah.
it's great.
So take me back. I'm gonna jump around.
Okay.
And we're gonna come back. So
Okay.
you grew up, you're local. You
Yeah.
grew up here in
Yeah.
Clayton.
Yeah.
Right, Clayton, California. And
Uh-huh.
take me through what was life like kind of leading up to unfortunately, your dad passed.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was literally like a party all the time. I know that I had a different uh, upbringing than my siblings, just because I think by your seventh kid and like
You were number 7.
I was number 7. They kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit more relaxed. So like I was in Girl Scouts, I was in soccer, I played tennis, I was on the golf team, and I was really close to my parents and my sister, so we always had something to do. Like I would go with Salma for manis and petties, which people weren't doing at that time, especially my age.
Yeah.
So it was just so fun. Like anything I wanted, I got. I
Dream.
wasn't a brat.
No, but just like a dream childhood, right? Like
Yes.
people, family,
Yes.
like food cooking, right? Like
yes, anything. Like it was just so fun. Like we'd watch American Idol on like Tuesday nights. Like it was like a family event. Like
yeah.
it was just awesome.
And so you're growing up, and this is the part about adversity. It's, and I don't mean to dwell on. I know this was a very difficult loss for you, but
Yeah.
that's part of your journey, right?
Yeah.
You just don't see that coming.
Never.
For me, it's like that's somebody else, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you remember when you were 16? If anyone listening out there has lost a parent young, like, how did you kind of process that? Was it having family? Was it talking about it? Was as a young person?
I
Like,
didn't process
you
it
didn't.
until I was 25 and I moved to Italy and I had like a mental breakdown over there. That's when I processed
You
it.
felt all the pain.
I
You just
felt it. I was in complete denial until I went there. And I remember this one specific scene. It was like literally, it's unbelievable. So I went to go get my key for my new apartment in Italy. And over there, I had my landlord. He had like a cafe bar.
Which is so cool.
I
You
know,
lived
right?
in Italy, by the way, above a cafe bar.
And that was my landlord. It was like really cliche.
Like, can I get some coffee?
Yeah, exactly. Espresso. So I went downstairs to get the key. It was like a rainy, like February day. And it was actually my dad's death anniversary, the 27th. Okay. So I go, this is like 8 years
Yeah.
after he passed. So I go to get the key from my landlord, and the employee there told me that his name is Maurizio, the owner.
Yeah.
Maurizio's dad died today, so he's not there. And that just came full circle. For some reason, like that hit me, and I was like, fuck, I lost my dad. Like, he's never coming back. Like, this day is always gonna haunt me. So I literally ran outside, crying, sobbing in the middle of the piazza in Italy, and it's like pouring rain. And like, I feel like that's the moment when I accepted that my dad died, when I was all alone. I needed to experience that alone because I was in complete denial. And it was just, people probably thought like I was a fucking psychopath, like crying with like bags in my hand when it's like pouring rain. But that's when it all just came, it hit me. It was like a moment of acceptance.
They talk about like radical acceptance.
Yeah.
Like but like it's almost like they talk about that pain that like brings you to your knees.
Yeah.
Where you just
literally.
You have to like, and I haven't lost a parent, but that like literally just kind of the debilitating pain that
Yeah.
you have to feel it actually there's no way around it but feeling it.
There's definitely those stages of grief that you have to go through. And it took me 9 years to actually deal with that. Yeah. But things were manifesting in my body and my life, like between those 9 years. Like I had 3 tumors, I had 3 chest surgeries. Like a lot of things happened because I firmly believe that I didn't deal with it. The pain of losing him. So it just like manifested in my body. I was like really upset. I wouldn't talk much. Like I was just a very different person than what I am today.
So what happened after you had that moment in the piazza? Like, did you start your process? Because you seem like you can talk about it now.
Yeah.
Which means you've processed some of it. Not like you'll ever be,
No, I really have. And even prior to that, I would go to therapy, but I was not there yet to like actually accept it. But after I had that meltdown, it was hard because I was in an MBA program at that time and I didn't really have time to process things. And I was doing things on my own, which I wasn't used to either. So a lot of life was happening. So I started to cry a lot. And prior to that, like I did not shed a fucking tear.
So and crying's healthy.
Yeah.
It's actually very healthy.
So it was like 9 years of like saving these tears and they're all just like coming out in Italy.
It's not a bad place to cry, If you're going to have a meltdown, have it in a piazza in the rain.
With some cute Italian boys around me.
I know. So, like, because I have friends right now who are grieving the loss of a parent a couple of years in or a year in. Young, we have neighbors that have lost just young. I know people that are going through it, and like what I know people are going to grief counseling and like,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I've heard a quote that like grief is like it's grieving all the love that you like had left to give, but like it doesn't have
Yeah.
anywhere to go. But like, how do you? What recommendations do you have to somebody who's like debilitated by that? How do you start? What do you say to yourself to get yourself through those hard days?
I would say talk to them still. Talk to your parent as if they're still there. Like bounce ideas off of
Yeah,
them, because I feel that they are here, but in a different dimension. They hear you, they feel you. You get an answer somehow. It's not the same, like they're not in front of you, you don't see them, but somehow I'm telling you,
a
Bree,
situation or opportunity or
something comes about, someone says something, you smell a scent, like you
the
get a
smells.
subliminal message where you're like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, so
Talk to them,
talk to them.
write to them,
Hmm. Hmm.
and go to therapy.
Therapy, it's a good one.
Therapy, journal, like all the things that are good for your mental health.
Yeah.
You have to like practice it on the daily. You
Hmm.
can't just brush it under the rug like I did, because you'll have a meltdown eventually. And sometimes like people don't bounce back from meltdown sometimes. Like they just stay in that state. You don't want to live your life like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Life is such a gift. Like, yeah, it's so sad. Like, it's the reality of everyone. We're all gonna die. But it's hard every single fucking time.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's so hard. So the sooner that you can come to terms with it and just allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, instead of just trying to like mask it with something or brush it under the rug, or like I'm fine, like how I was. Deal with it as soon as you can. And if like you're sad one day and you need to sulk, and that's fine, or for a few hours, but get yourself out of that moment.
Mm.
Be self-aware, go inward, so you can just move on and you can help someone else.
Hmm. No, that's great advice because I think it can the grief can I think swallow you up at times,
Yeah.
but I don't think anyone that we've lost would want us to like stay in that place
No.
because it doesn't really serve them.
No, not at all.
It's painful, but like life is painful
Life
in different
is.
ways. And it's great and it's also painful.
Yeah, it can be painful. It's so beautiful, but it stings too.
Yes.
And you just have to work through the sting to get back to a beautiful state. It's all cyclical.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. No, I just know a lot of people. Struggle with grief and especially with a parent and it's for me I know that day will come if I'm blessed although I'm like oh I know that day will come and I'm like nobody's promised tomorrow like
No
I'm
one.
assuming I'm
Yeah.
gonna live till I'm 95 like that's also an assumption like hopefully but as my dad says that you're not guaranteed tomorrow like you're literally nothing is guaranteed
No.
it's cliche but I don't know
Yeah, it's
you
life
don't
is
know
way too
so
short.
like so that's why I like this podcast stuff it's like I want to share stories about and like kind of get like grief and things out in the open because everybody's struggling with stuff.
Yeah.
And we're all busy and we're all working, we're all doing this, doing that. But mental health and grief and I think there's like a loneliness epidemic of like
Yeah.
people not feeling like people feeling like everybody's got it together on Instagram and
Yeah.
why am I the only one who's feeling this? It's like, actually everybody's feeling different things at different
Yeah.
times. They're just some people have tools to process things and like
Yeah.
if you don't go to therapy
Yeah.
then you
And
learn that
even if you don't have like access to therapy, because unfortunately they make it so hard to
yeah
like go to therapy. It's so expensive, and sometimes you're matched with one where you don't feel comfortable. You can't talk to them about things. Like it's just not a good fit. So just keep trying if that is something that happens to you, because I know my third one was the right one.
fit
And I've been
yeah
with her for 10 plus years, and She has played such a big role in my life. Like, I love her. I've essentially graduated, but I do go to her from time to time, and she's like, "You're doing all the things.
Yeah.
You're doing all, like, I have nothing else to tell you."
That you're like, but I want to work on more stuff.
Yeah.
Because you know what, you probably love going because, like me, it's like becomes cool to be self-aware. Like therapy's cool, like
Yes.
being because you're like, I know what I'm doing
Yeah.
as I'm reacting. I'm like, you're doing that. Stop. You're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
Then you can pull yourself back.
Yeah.
And be like, wow, I handled that better.
Exactly. It's like a constant work, but it's like it's nice to see yourself grow too. And even if
Yeah.
you like make a mistake, like you won't kill yourself about it. You'll just be like, okay, next time I'll do X, Y, and Z versus like just lashing out like I did today.
So tell me about this.
Yeah.
I think there's much less of a stigma about therapy now, right?
Yeah.
However, I think there still is some because I have it in the corner of my mind. I go every other week.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm great. But then a part of me is like, well, then why are you in therapy?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, well, because I want to keep working on myself,
Yeah.
right? If someone out there is listening and is like, therapy is for people who are kind of like, sorry, fucked up or
Yeah.
having a mental breakdown
Yeah.
or have issues, you can. Why do you think people hesitate to go?
There's definitely a misconception.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's more out in the open now, but there are some people, like someone that's like a few years older than me. I told her that I went to therapy, and she was like talking down to me about it. Like, you need to learn how to fix your problems by yourself. But it's like, you were born and raised here. Like, why do you have this like
Actually,
village
really
mindset? Like,
Actually, it's
okay,
the most amazing thing ever, and they're
it
very smart and
is.
educated. And it's great.
It's awesome. So
Yeah.
basically what it is, it's just like an unbiased third party. So instead of thinking about it and like boxing it in like people that have mental illness or they're fucked up, which maybe that's what was it's been a misconception for years.
Yeah.
And I know it's like so taboo, especially for certain cultures and certain
You
age
need,
groups.
it's a weakness.
Yes. However, that's the last thing that it is. I
Right.
feel like a person that goes to therapy is so strong because realizing that you need some help or you want to talk to someone that's an
Yeah.
unbiased third party, that takes strength.
Growth mindset,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like,
it's hard. It's not easy.
It's not easy to be like, wow, I'm a dick.
It's painful.
Like,
It's literally painful when you're like, oh my God, I am so fucked up. Like, I have so many red flags. Like, it's
or the
painful.
patterns where you go, wow, I'm doing that because I feel this.
Yeah.
And that, like, or oh, I'm jealous. That's why I'm acting like.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a cute. It's not fun to be like to identify the things you don't like about yourself. But if you don't, they're gonna come out in anxiety,
Yeah.
being an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just not gonna be happy.
Yeah. It just enhances it enhances your life. Therapy enhances your life. And I just think of it as an unbiased third party.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
There's certain things that I can't share with certain people, but I can share everything with my therapist.
Oh yeah. You know what's cool is I sometimes ask her, I go, is that like normal? And she's like, oh. And I'm like, okay, have you heard that before? And she's like, ah. And I'm like, okay, all right. That means other people say that to her. Like, it just makes you feel like you're not, I don't know.
An outlier.
Yeah. Or even if you are like, to be self-aware, I don't want to look back and be on my deathbed and be like, God, I was so reactive and I never, or like, I didn't start the podcast because I was too afraid because I'm so scared of what people think. That I had to work through in therapy because a year ago I was paralyzed. Like, I'd be like, what are they going to think of this? What if this looks cheesy? What if, or I feel like a wannabe sitting here with this. And it's like, no, I'm like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Like, if you like this, great. If you're going to hate on, like, see, this is all coming out now. My insecurity was like, if I don't get the validation, then I don't want to do it because I need that validation. Through therapy, I learned do the thing because you like doing the thing, and then if you get the validation, great.
Yeah,
but
and also learning to get validation from yourself.
Yes, you have to.
And it's something it's a practice.
And
it's not so easy to say it, but
it doesn't. At first, you're like, no, but when it's for someone else, it's like they said it. Whereas but actually, if you wait on that. What if you get none that day?
Yeah.
So are you just like nothing that day?
Oh, God,
Right?
I've
Or what
worked
if
through that so
it
much.
sucks because
Yeah.
it's like addictive to get the praise.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like I'm good. I'm this. I'm this.
you should not put your worth on someone else.
Yeah.
Like it's your job,
Yeah.
not anyone else's. But
So
for some reason, I don't know why we do it.
yeah. So it's daily work. Like
Yeah.
you're never done, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so we've talked about lots of things. I know amidst, you had to basically grow up fast
Yeah.
when your dad passed.
Yeah.
And I know you're grateful for your 4 sisters,
Yeah.
brothers. You've got
Yeah.
family around you, which is amazing. But you then kind of weren't done getting your fair share of adversity at a young age. So what happened later on? You mentioned like some health stuff
Yeah.
that you went through.
Oh my
So,
God. So when I turned 18, this was like September actually. I vividly remember I was like in so much pain. Like I don't even know how to like my whole chest was hurting and I was
Just
not
out of the
getting
blue.
out of the blue.
Okay.
So random. Like this was when like swine flu was a thing and like they thought I had swine flu, didn't end up having that, but I went to the ER with my mom. Like I was screaming in the car. Like that's how much pain I was in.
Chest pain. Oh god.
So weird. So I'm in the ER and like my sister's there, my mom's there, and they take an X-ray because they wanted to rule out pneumonia, which I did having pneumonia too. Um, and like the doctor comes in with he looks like a fucking ghost. Okay. And basically what they found is they saw something the size of a baseball resting on my heart. So they're like all these things, right? It's like, is it Hodgkin's lymphoma? Is it this cancer? Is it that cancer? Like all these things. And I'm just like an 18-year-old like kid essentially, like confused, like so confused. Um, my whole family's in healthcare and she talked to one of the doctors and they like rushed me to UCSF because they didn't want me at Valley Care. So they wouldn't let anyone else in the ambulance. So I was in the ambulance on my own. It was like Royal ambulance. It was like purple. I got hell.
So are you in pain? Were you in pain still?
Yeah, I was in pain. And then like once you hear that C word, you're like, what? Me? Huh? And so got rushed to UCSF. Like we all stayed. Somehow they got us a suite there. All of my siblings and my mom stayed with me for a full week there until I got discharged.
They like wouldn't leave your side.
They would not leave my side. And do you know how grateful I am for that? Like
So you never, that'd be hard.
I never felt alone. Like I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself, and I would go and like my sisters would go with me, and I would cry to Salma. And I was like, Salma, am I dying? Like, and that must have been really hard for her more so than me.
But they did, so they just didn't. They were they were trying to figure it out.
They were trying to figure it out. I had like a biopsy done, and
but it's still there.
It's still there, and it's so funny, Brie, because when I was in high school, and I was in PE, when I would be running, I really like running, but at that time, like I just felt tired. So I kept telling my teacher when I was slowing down, and she was like, or my PE teacher, she was like, "Stop being lazy." But essentially, it wasn't me being lazy. I had something the size of a baseball resting on my heart that made it really hard for me. It's a miracle that I didn't have a heart attack.
One day that pain, just something hit where you finally felt the pain.
It was the pneumonia.
Oh, the pneumonia.
The pneumonia was how they picked it up because I was asymptomatic besides that. We don't know how long it was growing in me. Like
could have been years.
Yeah. No one knows. And then, so I had to drop out my first semester of college because I had chest surgery and it was intense. Like,
so they ended up, you had surgery, they had to remove it.
They had to remove it, yeah.
Was it just like a massive?
Yeah, size of a baseball.
Just like, they don't.
Just on my heart.
Wow. Yeah. So does that affect how you live today at all? Do you just have to kind of watch anything?
Yes.
I mean, obviously you're aware. Everybody has to be aware of chest stuff.
Yeah. It has made me kind of double guess something sometimes. it does make me, scared when it comes to my annual scan. I would say
Yeah.
I get scanxiety for sure. I have a
As anyone would.
great team at UCSF, but then shortly after that, it's like, then I had a breast tumor, and then I had to have
So
another surgery, and I did it because I had to drop out one semester, and I was like adamant, like, I am graduating college. I'm not letting this like take me down. Like, I am overcoming this. I don't give a flying fuck. Like, if I've had chest surgery, like, I don't care. I'm graduating on time. So I like doubled up on my classes, would take like 7 to 8 classes at once. And so I remember the next summer, I had like 2 weeks until I took summer class, and then until fall. That's when I had my other surgery. It's like one thing after the next, one thing after the next.
And do you, when you were in the, if you try to take yourself back to like those moments when you were like, no, fuck this,
Yeah.
I'm not letting this, like, where did that, what did you say to yourself? Because if someone's listening, right, and they're like, I'm in the fucking worst place ever, I can't, like, how do you turn that, like, back against the wall into, like, no, fuck this? Like, how do you, or you just have to, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
you just, like,
Otherwise, like, I would have just stayed super stagnant. Like, it would have taken me probably like so many more years to graduate versus graduating on time. But I do think that putting that much pressure on yourself is not good either. Like, I put too much
too
pressure on
extreme.
Yeah. Wait, like where I was like pretending that like I didn't have anything else.
Yeah. So it's balanced, right?
I wasn't listening to my body.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
So you were disconnected from like your emotions and your body.
From everything, yeah.
But you're also really young.
I wouldn't eat. Like, I was like 95 pounds. Like, it was bad. And then I had all these hormone issues, and then I stopped getting my period for like 7 years, and it was bad.
Yeah. So from age 16 to that breakdown 25, like mentally and physically you were kind of put through the ringer.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
It was
because
a battle.
life put you through the ringer.
It was a battle.
And then you being young, and actually, by the way, a lot of people never confront feelings ever. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot of probably 70-year-olds who are like, we don't talk about that. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, we do now in
Yeah.
this day and age. Like,
Yeah.
no offense to
Thank
anyone.
God.
It's just a different generation of like, there weren't podcasts talking about your feelings. Okay. There just weren't. It's like not that generation's fault.
Yeah.
But we don't have an excuse now. So we have to process stuff, right?
Yeah. It's healthy too.
It'll come out whether or not you want to. You can
Yeah.
either talk it out with a therapist, or it can come out when you yell at someone, or when
Yeah.
you're depressed, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Being
Only 'cause
vulgar,
I've done all those
aggressive.
things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you had okay, so you had a lot.
Yeah.
Right? You're 25. You're on the piazza. You had recovered from the chest surgeries, but you're finally like processing some big loss.
Yeah.
And you're 32 now.
Yeah.
So in the last 7 years, like what's gotten you to the point where like you're able to kind of look at your emotions and stuff? Like how did you get from I can't deal with this? And
Yeah.
like what if someone out there right now is like, I don't even know how do you feel like what do you even how do you start that how did you start that journey of like feeling it? Therapy, right?
Well, I was in therapy in
Yeah.
those previous years as well, but I feel like I was actually ready to implement certain like things that we talked about in therapy full force. And I was also like, I went inwards. So instead of like blaming like what happened or, blaming things on certain people, like I was just like, no, that's me. And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's
you're like
really hard because it's like I manifested all of this. Like it's not their fault. It's not her fault. It's me.
or it just is.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm allowing this to happen. I chose this. So then once you think of it in that lens, then you kind of like humble yourself. You're humbled.
Mm-hmm.
And also different techniques like EMDR I started at that point too.
I've not done it, but heard of it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that has definitely helped me a lot.
And for people who don't know what what is EMDR?
So EMDR is basically like you revisit your past traumas
Mm-hmm.
and you deal with it in like a healthy way versus brushing it under the rug. So for instance, like you probably have like a negative cognition to like something that happened in the past. And every time like something reminds you of that, you feel those like feelings like manifest in your body, whether your throat's
Stomach
closing,
drop.
yeah, your throat's closing, you're nauseous, you're this, you're that. So it helps you go back and revisit those moments so you're dealing with it, so then you don't have that association with it anymore. And it is the best thing that I have ever done for myself.
Okay. EMDR. I'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
So EMDR, and then I think, like you said, journaling, kind of looking inward at like you finally you accepted things and
Yeah.
then looked, okay, what can I do with my outlook,
Yeah.
right? It sounds like,
And I felt more confident in myself. So I have 3 older sisters and they're amazing.
yeah.
However, I feel like I myself would try to follow in their footsteps just because I didn't know any better. And there are times where I tried to like pull away and I was reprimanded in one way or another. If you know my sisters, you know what I'm talking about. They're like, no, get your ass back here right now. You're not doing this. But the more that I practiced that and the more that I felt comfortable in my own skin and who I am, for instance, like I think different than they do. I look different, like I dress different, like my makeup's different, where I was kind of following in their footsteps, like because Soraya wore foundation, I had to wear foundation. It's not like she made me, it sounds stupid, but it's like you need to find out who you are.
Yeah. But at some point you're like, what do I want to do?
Yes, I don't want to eat this. Like I'm gonna be vegan, I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
And I gave myself the space to explore and be who I am. And that's when I became the most confident version of myself.
That's awesome. And you're not actually asking if it's okay.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sure, like, when you start to do things, and then you go, like, but hopefully, like, people will like it.
Yeah.
But if you can do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's say, I don't know, whatever it is, wearing something that you wouldn't normally wear.
Yeah.
And then not being like, I hope I get compliment. I hope, do you like it? Maybe, but being like, no, I don't really care whether you like it or not.
And my therapist helped me with that too.
Okay.
Like
little things, like.
But it's little things, and it sounds so ridiculous, but it's major things.
So, like, give me an example.
So, for instance, like I wouldn't want to go to like someone's house, okay, an aunt's house, and it was not really something that I expressed in the past, or like I would just go and shut my mouth and not say anything.
People
but like,
please.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like I felt uncomfortable. Like I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to like find my own friends. I wanted to like, spend my Saturday the way I wanted to spend it. And, in the beginning, it was kind of like they were taken back by it. Because they're like, what? You don't want to hang out with us? Like we do everything together. And slowly but surely I was able to prime them to accept me for who I am.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
That's the goal, yeah, is to be who you are. And it's also,
that's
you
my
need
goal.
I wasn't able to talk to them like this about it just because I was scared. Like, you don't want to disappoint them. For me, especially, like, didn't want to disappoint them, didn't want to, like, disrespect them. But in certain ways, like, I did totally do that, too. There's certain times where, like, I was an extremist. I was like, fuck you. Like, I'm moving out. Like, you don't know where I am. And then I was, like, such a good little girl. So they're like, where is this coming from?
I'm trying to figure it out.
Where is this coming from? Where is she? She's been gone for 10 days.
Oh my
Is she alive?
No, but like I have an older brother, and like they are the model. And then you as the youngest, I was the youngest. I was sort of like, oh, I do what he does, or whatever,
Yeah.
And I remember like just not like being like not like when he bought a house. And by the way, he's amazing. he bought a house when he was 28. And I'm like, dude, I was paycheck to paycheck
Yeah.
living in an apartment. But I'm not him and he's
Yeah.
not me. And like,
Yeah.
I used to, the formula of like, you have to do this, it's just all, but with an older sibling, you tend to, they're your mark,
Yeah.
right? Of like, okay, well, I have to follow that path. And you
Yeah.
actually don't at
You
all.
don't,
Like,
no.
you're literally a different human being.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
But it takes time to
But
accept
you don't
that.
know that when you're young.
Yeah.
You're like, I need to do what everyone wants me to do.
I felt like a loser. Like,
Yeah.
they tried to get me to go into healthcare. I couldn't even pass a fucking chemistry class.
Because you've got pharmacists,
Yeah,
you're a whole pharmacy doctor family.
They're so smart. And like, I even had the old exam. I couldn't even pass the chemistry test.
Because you weren't meant to be.
Yeah. My brain just does not operate that way.
Neither does mine.
And that's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay.
That's why we have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll give them the podcasts and they give us the pharmacy stuff and save our lives. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yes. I'm not an essential service. Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about all kinds of stuff. This is the beauty of this podcast. We're just winging it. We've talked about siblings.
Yeah.
We've talked about loss. We've talked about, more on being who you are.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like when you're being, how do you know when you're being authentic? Are you always authentic?
No. But I catch myself when I'm not.
Yeah.
And then before I was totally in my subconscious, not knowing.
Yeah.
But now it's like when I'm doing something that is not something that is serving me or makes me uncomfortable and I'm doing it just because a certain person has said it. There's just, I'm so in tune with my body now that like I feel like there's no harmony in my body. But before that, like I would get, upset or quiet. I get really quiet.
Mm.
But now it's like, I feel it in my body now. And that's okay. But I find myself doing it and it's normal. But I think that if you catch yourself and in the moment you catch yourself versus afterwards you do it and then you're upset and then like the other person doesn't know why you're upset because you agreed to it. But I think as women especially, it's so important to not do things that you don't want to do.
People pleasing will wear you down.
Yeah. And people will take advantage of it, especially men. So don't do it.
Yes. No, but like the being yourself thing, I annoy myself when I catch myself not being. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, when you're just like, and then you're what am I doing? But when I'm being fully myself, I can tell. Like, I've been posting videos and stuff on the podcast, and I'll watch it, and I'm like, yep, that's me. I can tell. And then another take, I'll be like, what are you doing, weirdo? Stop. Like, you're doing that thing again, Because I'm like trying to be whatever. Yeah. So my goal is hopefully all of these episodes come out like authentic.
They are. It's like raw.
Well, and I'm almost a year ago, I cared so much about what other people think. And then I had, for all the spiritual woo-woos out there, like the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that, but where I just like had I just was like lowest of the low. And then since then, I'm starting to really, really not care.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like I care for people's feelings. I don't really, ultimately, I don't really care if people think this is going to be good or not. Because I actually deep down, I'm like, no, this is good.
Yeah.
And I don't need, I would love a ton of people to view this, but I feel that intuitively, I know I'm like doing the right work.
Your
validating.
Your stamp of approval is the only one that matters.
Well, I'm sick of my whole life yearning for the external. Yeah. I'm exhausted. I'm done. I'm exhausted. It's fucking exhausting.
Because you hold yourself back.
It's fucking, and it's a bottomless pit. It's never enough.
Yeah.
And then if you can, why don't just validate myself? And then more of that ends up coming. Because I'm not like desperate for it. Like, I need likes, followers, subscribe.
Yeah, no,
it's like why? Why? Some podcast was like, if you're creating, like, ask yourself, make sure you're creating for the right reason. Yeah. Do you want the follower? Are you doing it?
Yeah.
No, because I want to share stories because I know when your life's in the shitter, a podcast can turn shit around.
Oh,
and
totally.
It really can. Yeah. Like if someone hears this and they're like, all right, I'm just going to try like a little bit, or just, it's nice to know you're not alone.
Yeah.
So,
And thank God that we have these tools to
yeah.
help us, because
Yes.
it's modern technology has really enhanced our lives.
Yeah.
And podcasts really do help,
Yeah.
because when I have been in a very bad place, like I have listened to some people on podcasts, and
Yeah.
it takes you out of that moment,
Yeah.
and it's relatable, and you're like, okay, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not forever. Like, this is okay. And
This too shall pass.
it's actually like very liberating as well, just to circle back on having confidence
Yeah.
and being true to who you are. It's so fucking liberating. You feel so free.
Yeah.
It's the best, like it's the best thing ever. So if that's one thing that you should work on, is having
Yeah.
confidence and staying true to who you are.
Mm-hmm. Letting go, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's what it's all about. Because I think a lot of for me, a lot of adversity has been like self-imposed too. Of like anxiety would probably come from caring about other people's opinions
Totally.
too much.
Yeah.
So you let go of that, and then like anxiety goes down.
Yeah.
There's so many things we could dive into. Um, if you had to give like what's one or two of your favorite tools if you're feeling out of alignment, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed,
Yeah.
what's like a go-to tool for you that to get yourself like back your head on straight?
Okay, so exercise. Totally. When I run, I feel like a different person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't I do this an hour ago, instead of like being like so upset and crying? Running, Pilates, any form of exercise that works for you.
Yeah.
Another thing is like, go take a hot shower. Like, it will get you out of the moment, and you'll feel so much better. I promise you. Those two things.
Changing your physical state
Yeah.
can change your mental state.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you can't get out of your head.
You can't. No.
So you have to physically
just get out.
just change something.
When you go and you're running or you're exercising, even a walk, like it just releases like certain endorphins, I think.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Endorphins,
and see, science is not
science,
is not my
Some
thing.
deep science. This is why she's not a pharmacist.
It's not
We'll
my
leave it
thing.
to your sisters and your brother-in-law. Shout out to all the first responders out there.
It is not my thing. I'm like, is that the right word?
We're done.
No, we're techies.
We're just hippies.
Yeah, we're definitely hippies.
Hippie techie.
Yeah.
Hippie techie.
The best
Hippie
kind.
techie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those two things. But if I could choose a third, I would say change your diet. Change your diet. The second that I became like plant-based, like I felt so much more energy. I wasn't lethargic after I ate. Like, stop eating crap.
The processed
Don't
shit.
say it's expensive. Like, go eat a fucking bell pepper. Okay? That's cheaper than a bag of Doritos.
True.
Like, don't. It's just, you have to make better choices. And they're not fun, right? They're not fun choices all the time, but you will feel better, and it changes everything in your body.
Yes, that's true. The food affects your mood. Garbage in, garbage out.
1,000,000%.
And it's not actually just about the waistline. Your mental health will be like shit if you eat processed shit.
Yeah.
Totally.
Totally.
You eat like really good food. I do eat some meat, but I love plants too.
Yeah, no, everyone's body is different, right? Some
But
people,
if that
they
works for
do
you,
need
yeah.
a protein from
Sure.
that source. But I would say like the other processed stuff, like you don't need that.
No, it's not actually food.
No, it's not. It's garbage.
If you put like a sweet potato with a bunch of it's so good.
Yeah.
Sweet potato with like butter. Well, that's animal and stuff, but plants are amazing.
But even there's vegan butter. Like, even if you're not vegan, like you can make better life choices instead of like a bag of chips. Like, go get a handful of cashews.
That's what I'm talking about.
Pistachios. Like,
she said it.
You will feel so much better. I'm not kidding. Like, the mental clarity that you will get once you eat whole foods, like foods that are good for you, you will feel like a different person.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when I'm feeling good, it's usually I'm sleeping the right amount.
Yeah.
I'm moving my body.
Yes.
And I'm eating like mostly non-garbage. Like a little bit, like, you
That's
know, nothing's
fine.
perfect, but like, then I have like a tempo of like, I don't go too high, too low.
Yeah.
Because you're taking care of yourself.
It's
And then you,
important.
when you get off track, you just have to get back on track.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
that's okay if you get off track because
do.
we're all human and we all like, no day is perfect, right?
Yeah.
But just recognize it and you know what to do to kind of get yourself back. But I'm not saying be vegan. Don't be vegan.
Yeah.
Just make better food choices.
Yes. Just eat a fucking bell pepper.
That's it. Literally, eat a fucking bell pepper.
I'm going to make a t-shirt that just says, eat a fucking bell pepper. That's great. Give it to your sisters. You're like, I'm tired of you guys telling me what to do my whole life. Eat a fucking bell pepper. No, I love your sisters. You have 4 of them. So.
3.
3. You have 3. There's 4 total. And they all look exactly like her. So I'll have all of you on the podcast and you'll be like, there's 4.
I don't see it. I know that we resemble one another, but
I would actually like to have all 4 of you sitting here, and then like Ali and like
Jamal.
it would be the most hilarious.
Abe.
Oh my god, it'd be amazing.
That would be
fantastic.
Show. It would be a shit show.
Yes. I feel like I'm gonna have you back on the podcast again to dive into different topics.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my 3rd interview.
Of course.
My very first in-person interview. Remember this at my 100th podcast party.
For sure.
Because we're setting big dreams here.
We manifested it.
Yep. This is episode number 13, Lucky 13.
Yeah.
And what else? Will you come back?
1,000,000%.
You will?
Yeah.
She'll come back.
And I will talk about anything.
And if she won't, we'll just edit this out.
Yeah.
No. Maybe next time we'll talk about more hippie woo-woo stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because we've got some hippies out there, for sure.
Yeah, we do.
But we've also got some of my friends are non-hippies, and they're like, oh, Brie, you and your hippie stuff. But then they're like, what was that thing you do again? You seem really happy. I'm like, yeah.
Can I have some of that?
It's science. It's all science-backed.
You know what?
It's science-backed. It's not like foo-foo.
No.
It's a little foo-foo with science.
I'm a firm believer in
like chemicals and like before and after brain scans. It's not like just manifest and it'll appear. It's like that. If you do the work and you visualize, it's like putting a rocket pack. See, I'm going into another episode. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, this is a preview of
the
next episode. We got this.
All right.
So fun.
Anything else you want to tell our listeners about adversity and like
just hang in there. You know, everything is temporary. You're not going to feel like this forever. And you will get through it. You will.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sharing. I'm going to give you a hug. Yeah. And we'll have you again on episode number whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let me know. I'm here.
Bye-bye. Signing off from Blackhawk Plaza.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Ciao.